And this is going to be the first video I've done that is of me actually speaking. This is the second video overall that I've recorded. I've been drawing pixel art for a while, but I've decided to start trying to experiment with putting things on YouTube. Right now, we're just kind of doing some planning to get a feel for how big everything should be. I'm not too sure what things are going to look like at this stage. We're just kind of feeling some things out. As when I draw blindly, it's very common for me to wind up with situations where I don't really have a good sense of sizing. So we'll do the planning stage first, and then we'll go into actual drawing. And in this case, we're also drawing fairly blind, in the sense that I'm not relying on reps or anything of the sort. We're just gonna draw and see how we do. And right now we're just fiddling with the pose a bit. Not entirely sure what I wanted to do, but as it comes together, we kind of get this sort of coy hands together pose. And we're just going to fade that out a bit. It keeps it from getting in the way or from distracting me. And as I get comfortable, we're going to look for some colors. In this case, we're going to start with the skin tone as we're working on the face first. And we're just going to touch around with a few things. That looks pretty good. And we want to go a bit darker to look for some, maybe a good color for the outline of the form. And we'll just set that aside. Now, obviously, we don't want the face to just be a circle, so we're going to start putting some lines down. We already know that we don't want this to necessarily be a full-on look straight at the face. We want it to be kind of at an angle. So we know because of that, and just because of past experience, we know we're going to end up with two lines that are kind of at different angles. And we're going to fade that out a bit more. It's still kind of in my way. And we'll just kind of start feeling out a shape here. We're not going to draw the entire face, because obviously she does have hair, so there's no point in trying to fully get that out. And let's see if we can correct that a bit more on the right side. Get rid of some unnecessary pixels, bring it back. How do we feel about this? It's a little on the small side. What can we do here? Let's see. Maybe stretch that out a little bit. Maybe curve up with a bigger line. And we'll do the same for the other side. We'll curve that up as well. And let's just erase these unnecessary pixels. And we'll see how we feel about it. Get rid of that. Clean up a few more. Maybe the other ones. And we'll just block that out and delete it. And we'll see how we feel. It's bigger. I'm not a fan of the shape. Let's get rid of that. I really like the shape of this, it just isn't big enough. So what I think we're going to do is just stretch that out a bit. Now obviously it's distorted it, but it's more or less kept its shape, but now it's just bigger. And we can see what we can do to just clean this up a bit. This will just take a little bit. It's a little messy, but you know what? We're working blind without refs. It's going to be a little messy, and that's perfectly okay. We're just going to take it one step at a time here. And if we don't like it, we can change it again. Just smoothen this out. As we get up towards the top, we want the pixels to be a bit longer. We also don't want this to keep curving, though. We've reached the point where it should start to flatten out a bit. The chin's looking a little strange. We'll get that cleaned up real quick. And we start with the other side. And just as before, we work our way up, and we're going to smooth out any lines that we don't like. Nice and simple, and again, we probably want to flatten that out a bit, though the hair will probably be covering it regardless. It's looking pretty good. And with that, let's find some new colors to play with. This is going to be her hair. We know that it's going to be fairly dark, but we don't want to use actual black or actual grays. It's a little less interesting to look at. It can sometimes be harder to see as well, as it can be hard to show different shades of color with black unless you're willing to go into gray. But that itself is kind of its own can of worms, because at a certain point it can actually just look like the character has gray hair, which is not necessarily what we want to go with. So a little bit of color will spark a little bit more life. And we're just going to work our way down here, just get a feel for it. Not really sure what we're trying to go with here, but we can play with it. In this case, we want to sense that the hair is sort of overlapping here. So we're going to have one smooth line that goes up, and the other line just kind of intersects it harshly. And we curve around. But now we need to figure out how the hair ends. And in this case, why don't we go for a little bit of a hard curve. Bit of a messy tip, but we can clean that up in a moment. And we work our way back up. Again, not the cleanest curve, but we've got plenty of time to fix that. Let's smooth a few wrinkles out here. Obviously, we'd like to get that point up to shape, but of course there's also issues on the left side as well. Let's get that curve looking a little more smooth, one pixel at a time. It's all about just keeping it uniform. You got 1 pixels, and then you've got 2 pixels on top of each other, and then 3. And with that, you've got a pretty nice looking curve. And we'll work our way back up to clean this up. I can clean that up as well. And we're slowly filling it out. Now we head further back up towards the top of the head, and again, we're just going to feel this out. Just take it one step at a time. And of course, you can't have a Catgirl without some nice little ears. In this case, we're going to make them somewhat jagged with the fur, with very sharp spikes. And we take it down. And let's just go ahead and complete this spot here. We're going to leave that there for now. We'll probably have to come back to clean that up a bit, and we'll see how we feel about that side in a moment. In the meantime, we keep it going, and we keep this jagged look going. Just zigzag it up to the top, and then work the way around. And we'll add a little jagged here as well. How do I feel about this shape? I will say, it seems to be not quite right. So let's grab this line, and we're going to move it a little bit. Let's just slide it to the side, and we can add a bit of width to that side, because both sides were fairly even size, and that just did not feel quite right to me. And undo, redo is a good way to kind of do it before and after. The shape's a little off. Maybe we could fix that up a bit, make it a little bit wider at the base, so we get like a nice tapering effect. And let's go ahead and erase some of the hairline and make the ear just sort of blend in with the rest of the hair, and we'll see how we feel about that. I'm feeling pretty good about it, though I do like the hair goes over just a bit. It's a nice touch. Let's get some more jaggeds in, make the hair visible at the ear. I feel pretty good about that. Let's see if we can make this connecting point look a bit cleaner. Maybe I'm overthinking this. No, there's no harm in just fiddling a bit. We'll see how we feel. Take it up a bit, maybe? I think it improves the profile of the rest of the hair. Let's focus on the right-hand side. Similar to before, we're kind of going for a curve here. Let's see if we can get that point. And if we don't, we can always just fix it. Oh, sorry, sometimes I have to drag up a bit so I can get the screen moving. Let's bring that up towards the top of the head. It's coming in a little thin. We know there should be more hair on the side. Let's try to widen that out a bit. And we'll see how we feel about this shape. And if we need to correct it, we'll correct it. Let's just take it one step at a time. Let me see how I feel about that. That is probably too close of a cut, but we'll see where we stand. Yeah, that's more like it. Let's bring that out a lot more. And we go for a natural curve up, and let's rejoin. Get rid of the unneeded fluff. That's looking a little better. In this case, it's time for the next ear, but first things first, we need to kind of measure it a bit to keep it consistent. And we're mostly just trying to mirror what we did before. We just don't want it to be exactly the same. As with the perspective, you'd expect it to look a little different. Let's get rid of this now invisible skin so I can kind of take in the whole picture a bit better. I don't know about this one. You know what? I'm going to say right now, the top of the head is way too far down. Let's drag that up again before we even begin trying to fix that ear. And we curve back up. That's looking more like it, and for the other side as well. Give that a natural curve down. And as always, we're going to delete the unnecessary fluff. Nice smooth motion, not too bad. That is looking a bit more natural. The ear does not spark joy, which means it's going away. And we're going to do that again. This is me struggling to figure out how to mirror that shape. When worst comes to worst, just copy paste it over and mirror it. Because sometimes just making a zigzag line in the opposite direction is just a little too difficult to figure out. And there we go. Now that we've got the basic shape, we can start working on the inner ear. And maybe a little too jagged there. Let's calm that back down. And we'll just keep working our way down. There we go. How do we feel about this? Get rid of the connecting bit, perhaps? And the same down there. Just a bit of a fluff. Same there. That's not too bad. We've now got the shapes put in, though there is no color yet. Very nice. Okay, that shade's a little off. We need to rethink that. But that one still works. The outline color, I am not feeling. It's way too orange. It just does not feel right. Let's poke around with this a bit. Something a bit darker, but not quite black. And we're just going to do a replace color. Let's see if we can get this looking a way that I would like. Let's try that again. I suppose. Yeah, I think that's okay. Let me consider adding some eyes in here and seeing how we feel about that. At first, I kind of just want to get a feel for the size. And in this case, for the sharp-eyed viewer, you might notice at the bottom that there's various numbers. Some of those give me a sense of things like length and angle. I'm trying to get a feel for where about halfway down the face is. Maybe it's a bit too early to work on that. Let me actually try adding the hair in the back first and see how we feel from there. Not too bad. I actually quite like that shape. Very nice and rounded. What about this? No. I don't know why, but I tend to struggle with necks when I lack a ref. It's such a simple thing, but I frequently just cannot seem to grasp it. But we'll see how we do here. I want the body at like something of an angle here, so let's try to get this through. We're gonna kind of curve the skin as it reaches the shoulders, but we also need to consider the outfit that she's going to be wearing. We're not using any refs, so we definitely don't want this to be too complicated, as I do not consider myself to be much of a clothing designer. I'm thinking some sort of white shirt. Maybe something with just a strap. Let's try getting that shoulder shaped out first. We do a curve. Let's see if we can stick that elbow. Not too bad. And we go up. Create that little bit of overlap down there. And we curve around. How do we feel about this? Let's block it in and just get a feel for it. The smart thing would probably be to wait till we had more, but let me pull this in. I'm a little worried it's too big, though I am quite bad at judging those sorts of things. I guess we're going to find out. Hands are complicated. We're just going to block out a bit of an area, and we will fix that up later. Let's bring around the opposite side. Curve around the shoulder, bring it down to the elbow, and let's see if we can get that looking nice. And we come back up. Let's see how we feel about this shape. Based on the angle, you might expect the torso to be a little in front. The arms are actually ahead. Let's see, and similarly, let's just block out the area the hands will be in. We can go from there. And let us see if we can figure the torso out. Give it a little bit of a curve, a little bit of that hourglass figure, if you could call this that. Shape it down, bring the other end in, and opposite direction. Let's play around with what this shirt is going to look like. Maybe cut a little low. Fill it in with white. And we don't expect it to quite follow the contours of the body, but also it could probably just help to be a little wider down there. Let's give it a nice rounded shape and bring it back up. Let us see. It's not too bad. Let's keep it going. And let's give it a... I'm sure that there must be a word for this. Essentially I guess a seam? No, that isn't right. Just kind of like a decorative piece on the top of the shirt. And let's give it some details maybe towards the center here. Just like a shape. It doesn't have to be anything too specific, but just give it some nice curves there. Curve it back around the other way. I didn't quite nail the angle. Let's try that again. Alright, it's kind of just an amorphous shape, but I think it adds some character. What else are we thinking here? Perhaps a strap up to the shoulders. Can we bring it back down? Fill it in with white, fill it in with black, well, gray. Maybe a little connector bit of cloth. I'm not really sure what that is, just something decorative. And the opposite end as well. And we give that a nice curve down. And we curve it back up, and we connect. And let's see if we can repeat that. That feels pretty good. I like how that's coming out. This neck is looking a little stiff here. Let's see if we can't connect a few things to clean that up a bit. Give it a little bit of curving. Maybe a bit on the other side as well. Let's add a bit of shadow, perhaps. Other side, maybe? Maybe even curved? Yeah, we'll see how we feel about it. Let's fill in those arms. We also need to think about the pants, or perhaps shorts or skirt. But let us maybe also add a similar bit of decor on the bottom to match the top. And in this case, let's make her shorts the same color as her hair. Make it nice and rounded for the leg. And we bring it up. And we come back down, and we do the same for the opposite leg. Let's see if we can find a good angle here. Let me curve it back up. And we give that a nice fill in, but we need to get rid of the skin now. Outline. It's very basic. Let us see how the legs connect, and we'll see how we feel about it. The shape feels off. The left leg is quite a bit wider than the right. Let's see what we can do to correct this. They do fill out better, but it's still not quite there. A little bit of a misclick there. Let's see if we can fix that up. Maybe bring that leg in a little bit. And let's add a bit of shadow. Not too bad. Let's see how we feel about it over here. These are some pretty basic shadows. Can we make them a bit more fancy? I need a lot more practice with shading, but I find that little triangles tend to be at least somewhat effective. Let us add another. And maybe some detail near the groin area. And if it sometimes seems like I'm zoomed into strange areas, I am frequently looking at the preview rather than the work. And right here, we're just gonna play around a bit with adding some detail to the parts on the bottom, and then after this, probably the top, if it works out. Let's just make sure it doesn't bleed into the main colors, or the main area, as it were. If you're not sure how I'm doing this right now, you can actually select a section of pixels and turn them into a brush, which can be useful for kind of doing a quick fill of an area. Let's see if we can get this area cornered off. Okay, it broke through. It broke through again. There we go. There's a little bit of an error in how the dithering is connecting, but I'm not too concerned about it. Let's fill in that other hand that I never got around to. Fix up a couple of minor spots here. It is occurring to me at this stage, the head is much bigger than the body. I likely should have trusted myself a bit more when I originally had the shoulders a bit wider. Let's make this area look a bit different. Yeah, let's bring that down a bit. Wrong color. There we are. Separate them back into legs again. This previously looked like a short, or a skirt rather. The head is still far too big, but you know what? Let's go forward with this and see what we can do. It's a very chibi feeling sprite. Not quite my style normally, but let's just see what we can make work with this. That was a misclick again. There we go. Add some colors to the ears. What else can we do? Let us consider that perhaps it's time to add the eyes. And we're just going to feel out a shape here and see where it takes us. Give it a little bit of an eyelash there. I like that. And let's give that a bit of a copy paste and flip it over to the other side. It's not going to fit quite so easily. Let's shrink that down a bit. Give her a nose, give her kind of a neutral mouth expression. Maybe not hard black on it. Put some kind of empty space there. Makes a bit of a unique look for the lips. Maybe not there. Maybe a bit of a frown? No, absolutely not. Adds a bit of character to the nose, and let's get started on one of my favorite parts, which is the eyes. Let's do the same for the opposite side, perhaps. Just making sure the sizing makes sense. I probably could have copy-pasted that, but we're not going to worry too much about that. Though I am worried about how this is connecting with the rest of the eye. So we've got her kind of looking over to the side. And let's add some fun highlights in. There we go. Let's do the same for the opposite. You kind of want to keep it out of the center, because it's where you'd expect the dark to be. What else can we do here? Set some more brights, but not as bright. Fill it in. Let's go for a bit of a dark area. And we'll keep that kind of towards the center. Let's add some very bright spots. These will be in a very limited area. Adds a bit of shine to the eyes. And we need to add the whites. And let's add a dark area. Adds a bit of shading to the white. Makes it look a bit fancier. We'll do the same for this side. She, of course, needs some eyebrows. Let's fiddle around a bit with that. taking her in here, we need to get those hands in. Fingers are not my strongest suit, but we're going to give it my best shot. May have gone a little big on this hand, but that's perfectly alright. We can kind of just cut out the fat, so to speak. We can just clean that up a bit. And we can add a bit of a thumb in there. We just got to shape it a bit. And we're going to do the same for this hand. This one's sizing came out a bit more right. But we still need some minor touching up. And we're going to sort of imply a thumb is there. Truly, she is incredibly uncanny. And thank God for refs, because otherwise I would never be able to do this. Oh, a little bit of an error there. That's easy enough to patch up. Some hair highlights would not be a bad idea. Let's just futz around with some shapes here, see if we can make something that looks nice. Can we fix it? No, that was truly terrible. Let me try this. Kind of making some points over here, maybe. Well, we'll see how it looks. Fix that up, and smooth it out a bit. You can add kind of an embellishment over here. More triangles. Triangles are always the solution. Completely atrocious. It does not spark joy, it's leaving. Maybe some shadows would make me feel better. Down here. Other side. That is a bit nicer. Let's see if we can't add some shadows to the skin as well. We're going to have it curve around the elbow, and how do we feel about this? Not too bad, let's keep it going. Not too bad. I think we can make that a bit nicer. Not too bad. Maybe some shadows around the armpits. And not quite working there. Let me fiddle with this a bit. And see how the other side comes out. A little janky, a little weird. She looks a bit like a monster, but you know what? Working completely blind with no outside sources, I don't hate how this came out. I feel like my hair has improved quite a bit. There's certainly a lot of things I would do differently here. Her hair probably needs to be closer to her face. It's not covering it enough. In general, the shape of things just feels very off. Her face needed to curve inward more on the left side. Bit of a sharper intake. Well, let's just throw some colors. Whoops. Alright, I accidentally had the outline affect the mouth and the eyes. Let's lock that layer. Let's try that again. Did I misclick? We're going to give it double thick black line. And we can add kind of like a colored outline. Well, for the first video I'm speaking to, she turned out not necessarily great, but this was made for a good practice session. I'm quite interested to see how this turns out in the future, but thank you for stopping by. I'll see you all next time.